It's truly breathtaking. More than just beautiful, it's a pink diamond worth a staggering $70,000. My mother-in-law, who didn't even attend my own mother's funeral, seems to be reveling in her luxurious getaway with her friends, oblivious to me. With a gleam in her eye, she proudly told me about her new acquisition. Apparently, she'd been inspired by one of her friends who recently flaunted a similar ring, and in a burst of competitive spirit, my mother-in-law had decided to buy a more expensive one from the same jeweler, convinced it outshone her friends. However, the true story behind this extravagant purchase is far less glamorous. It became clear that there was no way she could afford such an indulgence on her own. It was later revealed that she had secretly taken money from my husband's safe to buy the ring, money that was meant for her nursing home expenses. That fund had been set aside for her care, but instead, it was squandered on a piece of jewelry meant to impress. My name is Angela, and I'm 44 years old. I live with my husband, William, who's 5 years older than me, and our daughter, Lauren, who's in her senior year of high school. Though we're not wealthy, we maintain a stable life. I've worked part-time at a local drugstore for over 14 years, and I've recently been working towards a certification in medical herbs. Lauren and I frequently talk about her future, and those conversations fill me with pride. 8 months ago, my father-in-law passed away, and it led to some significant changes in our modest lifestyle. According to his will, William inherited the house, while the cash was left to his mother, meant to cover her nursing home costs. Yet, despite this, she tearfully begged to move in with us, and after some discussion, we agreed to let her stay for a year while we helped her find a suitable living situation. Our neighborhood has recently become quite upscale, though we certainly aren't wealthy. The land has been in our family for generations, but that doesn't change the reality of our finances. I knew my mother-in-law had a habit of overspending, but living with her brought that issue into sharp focus. On our first day together, William went out to buy groceries, and my mother-in-law casually approached me. "Angela, could you lend me some money? I'm going out and might need a little extra. Say $1,250 for now?" she asked, claiming it was for groceries. I hesitated, questioning why she needed so much for just dinner, but against my better judgment, I gave her the money. 3 hours later, she returned home in a taxi, arms loaded with bags from a high-end department store, filled with gourmet deli items and expensive sweets. "Tonight, we feast," she declared with pride. "I wanted to try some new side dishes, and we've got desserts too." I was stunned and asked her, "How much did all of this cost?" She responded with a shrug. "Well, I went a bit over because of the taxi, but I covered the extra, so it's fine." Her nonchalance left me speechless, and I realized that this was just the beginning of a much larger issue. Managing finances in our home became increasingly difficult after we moved in with her. Before, when my father-in-law was alive, we'd ordered groceries online and used his credit card. I quickly learned from my first mistake, locking our wallets in a drawer to keep her from spending freely. Frustrated by the lack of access to money, she stopped helping with housework and focused solely on tending to the flowers at the entrance. Despite receiving a monthly allowance of $1,500, she blew through it on clothes, beauty treatments, and casual outings with friends. By mid-month, she would often be penniless, leaving us to cover her expenses. One afternoon, she asked for more money to go out to lunch with friends, and I calmly told her, "Even William, who works full-time, only gets an allowance of $1,500. I can't justify giving you more than that." She was unhappy with my response and retreated to her room. I suspected she might ask William for money later. The allowance was meant to support her future care, and I knew that if we kept giving her more, it would be detrimental to her long-term well-being. Later that evening, I voiced my concerns to William. "Did your mom ask you for more money again?" I asked. He nodded. "Yes, but it's hard to say no to her. She's lonely without my dad, and she's always been a bit vain. I just want to keep her happy while she's with us." I understood his desire to ease her loneliness, but I pointed out that his kindness might not be helping her in the long run. "It could backfire on us too," I said. He agreed. "You're right." My mother-in-law had always had a tendency to show off, particularly around her old friends, mothers of William's childhood classmates who lived nearby, but this time, her flaunting of wealth had gone too far. I first began to notice her behavior during the funeral arrangements for my father-in-law. "William, it's your father's funeral. Arrange the altar like this, and make sure to get more extravagant flowers. The neighbors are coming. Don't embarrass your father," she insisted. William, always the dutiful son, complied, though at great cost, because her main concern seemed to be impressing the neighbors, not honoring his father. During the funeral, she barely greeted anyone except for the families of her two friends, keeping the focus on appearances. A few days later, after lunch with those friends, it became even clearer how desperate she was to keep up with others living a more lavish lifestyle. She returned home with excitement in her eyes. "Doris showed me this ring worth $25,000 that her husband bought her for their golden wedding anniversary," she said, her voice full of awe. "I've never seen a ring that expensive before. What a fantastic gift." Then, with a smug smile, she added, "You don't have wealthy friends, do you, Angela? You'll probably never see anything like that in your lifetime." Her words stung, designed to belittle me as she continued, "Angela, you're so plain. Why don't you wear some makeup? Have you ever been to an upscale lunch?" It was as if she was trying to make me feel inferior at every turn. I tried to ignore her comments, but the hostility only grew, especially after I refused to give her more money following the settlement of my father-in-law's estate and our ongoing search for a nursing home for her. Around the same time, my own mother's health took a sudden and dramatic turn. My sister and I rushed to the hospital, where the doctor informed us that she had advanced cancer and only about 4 months to live. Her condition was delicate, and she could decline at any moment. I felt a deep sense of regret for not having paid closer attention to her health. As I made arrangements for my sister to stay with her, I went to my mother's apartment to gather some clothes and personal items. While packing, I found some cash in a drawer, likely set aside for her monthly living expenses. I decided to take it with me, intending to head back to the hospital as quickly as I could. I left the bag with the cash in William's upstairs room, and after getting ready, I noticed that the zipper was slightly open. My stomach dropped as I checked inside and found that the cash was missing. I felt a surge of anger and went downstairs to confront my mother-in-law. "Mother, may I ask you something?" I said, finding her getting ready to leave. "How's your mother doing?" she asked, seemingly indifferent. "I have plans with my friends right now." I pressed on. "The money that was in the bag in our room, you have it, don't you?" "That money belongs to my mother. Please return it." "I don't know what you're talking about," she snapped. "I never go upstairs. Are you accusing me of stealing?" She brushed past me, heading for the door. "I'm going out for a fancy French dinner with my friends tonight, so I don't need your poor excuse for a meal. Give my regards to your mother," she added with a smirk before leaving the house, leaving me in shock. Just then, Lauren, my daughter, came home and noticed the distress on my face. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, seeing the turmoil in my eyes. "Your grandmother's money." "My mother-in-law took it," I confessed, tears starting to fall, "but I don't have any proof." Lauren gently stroked my back in an attempt to calm me. "That's terrible. It must have been her. I've seen her sneaking down from upstairs before. To think she would stoop to taking your grandmother's money. I can't forgive her," I said quietly, the weight of my frustration hanging heavy in the air. Lauren, sensing my distress, gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "But how's Grandma? If you're going to the hospital, I'll come with you. Let's think of a way to handle this," she suggested, her words offering a small measure of comfort despite the situation. Her support, though subtle, lightened the burden on my heart. As we walked to the car, I couldn't help but feel a little grateful for her presence. Despite the chaos and sorrow surrounding us, I realized I had to focus on protecting my family in my own way. A few days later, however, my mother's condition took a sudden turn for the worse, adding yet another layer of urgency and stress to our already strained situation. This unexpected twist forced us to pull together and prioritize family, showing strength amidst the turmoil, and making us reevaluate our priorities and roles within our household. In my mother's final days, she would often drift in and out of a daze, but there were moments when she was startlingly clear. During those times, I made sure to express my gratitude for everything she had done for me, her love, her support for Lauren's dreams, and her belief in the future William and I envisioned together. She had always been my rock, and I wanted to make sure she knew how much she meant to me. Though her words were few, her eyes would sometimes sparkle with understanding, and she would nod gently, as if absorbing every word. During these emotional days, I couldn't help but recall a conversation I had with my father-in-law before he passed. He had spoken of divorcing my mother-in-law because of her extravagant habits, but he had never acted on it, fearing it would burden William and me. Before he died, he made me promise that I would sell the house and move my mother-in-law into a nursing home. Her spending had gotten out of control, especially after William started kindergarten. Living in an affluent area and feeling pressure to keep up with the neighbors had convinced her that she was wealthy, perhaps fueled by William's success in his prestigious job. I regretted not following through with his wishes sooner, as it might have prevented the incident with my mother's money. When my mother passed, William and Lauren were there with me for her final moments, but it was my sister and her husband who were with her at the very end. As we began preparing for the funeral, my mother-in-law's absence was palpable. I decided to offer one final gesture of kindness by organizing a small, quiet funeral without her presence. I tried reaching out to her, but she didn't answer her phone, and it seemed she had stayed out all night. When she finally returned, her demeanor was surprisingly light, completely unfazed by the gravity of the situation. "My condolences for your loss," she said with an air of casual detachment. "It must have been hard." Her tone, so out of sync with the solemnity of our grief, left me speechless. It was as if she couldn't fathom the depth of our pain, and that contrast between her indifferent mood and our family's mourning struck a discordant chord within me. It was yet another reminder of how differently we saw the world and what we prioritized in life. I couldn't help but notice the dazzling new jewel she was wearing, a pink diamond that shimmered brightly in the light. "Look at this beauty, isn't it gorgeous? It cost $70,000, she said with a proud smile, her tone laced with satisfaction. I was taken aback. "Mother, how did you manage to buy that?" She responded nonchalantly. "Oh, I bought it, of course. Doris introduced me to a boutique in Philadelphia, USA, one you can only visit by reservation. So, I went for an overnight trip with some friends. The hotel was lovely, and the meals were divine." Her words left me speechless. Here I was, mourning my mother's funeral, and my mother-in-law was in Philadelphia, indulging in luxury shopping with her friends. "I bought something even pricier than what Doris showed me. Feels good," she declared smugly. Still struggling to understand, I asked, "But how? You don't have that kind of money. Where did you get it?" Her answer came with a casual shrug. "Oh, I found it in William's room safe. My passbook was in there with exactly $770,000. Since it's in my passbook, it's my money, right?" A chill ran down my spine. Her actions were both disappointing and, unfortunately, not unexpected. It confirmed what I had feared. She had been sneaking into our upstairs room. That passbook, meant to be secure in the study room safe, was kept in an old-fashioned dial-type safe that William often left unlocked, finding it cumbersome to use. On the day of my mother's passing, I had left the study unlocked, suspecting she might try to take the passbook. "That $770,000 is from my father's inheritance. Do you realize what you've done?" I confronted her, feeling a wave of anger rise. Unfazed, she responded, "I know it's from your father, but it's my money, so what's wrong with using it?" Her response was a slap in the face, a stark reminder of how little she valued family ties and the emotional gravity of the moment. I looked her in the eye, my voice steady but firm. "It's indeed your money, and you are free to use it as you see fit. But that money was meant for your old age. Since we'll be moving out, it will be up to you to manage your finances independently from now on." My mother-in-law looked confused at first, but as the weight of my words sank in, her face turned pale. "Wait, isn't there a separate fund for the nursing home? It should be more than this amount, right?" "Yes, there was more originally," I explained calmly, "but it's been reduced because of the inflated costs of your husband's funeral and your constant requests for additional funds from William." To make the situation crystal clear, I handed her a stack of nursing home brochures I had gathered over the past few months. She flipped through them nervously, her hands trembling slightly, a silent acknowledgement of the reality she was facing. At that moment, William and Lauren came downstairs. I had briefed them earlier about the unfortunate discoveries in the study, and they came to assess the situation. Though William had initially been skeptical that his mother could have taken the money, the evidence was irrefutable, and he now supported my stance. Had the circumstances been different, I would have worked to arrange my mother-in-law's care in a suitable nursing home, but her blatant disregard for our privacy and her theft of the funds left me with no choice but to protect my own family. I made it clear that her actions were completely unacceptable and that I could no longer trust her. "William, you'll continue to stay in this house, won't you?" I asked, seeking his reassurance. "It's heartbreaking to consider selling a home full of so many memories," he said, "but looking after parents is a son's responsibility." As I clung to him, seeking solace, I decided to check the safe one last time. To my dismay, not only was the passbook gone, but the additional cash I had withdrawn for the car inspection was missing too. overwhelmed by the betrayal. I turned to William, my voice quivering with shock. This is too much. I trusted her. William, his voice heavy with regret, admitted the painful truth. I discovered she borrowed $115,000. But there's more. What about the money you took that belonged to my mother? My panic was rising. Oh, I'll return that too. Then we're fine, right? Angela, you'll forgive me now, won't you? She said hurriedly, handing me the money, still avoiding acknowledging the $70,000 ring. Not once did she apologize for the distress she caused with my mother's funds. I'm sorry, but I can't live with you anymore, I declared resolutely. I need to protect my own family from now on. She broke down in tears, clinging to William, who was overcome with sorrow and frustration. William acted decisively amid his grief, selling her belongings as a lump sum and finding a nursing home that would be affordable on her pension. The facility was far enough from our family home that I probably wouldn't see her again in my lifetime. William still receives occasional calls from the home, letting us know that she's settling into her new surroundings. Reflecting on everything, I regretted not arranging for her to move into a nursing home sooner. Perhaps if we hadn't lived under the same roof, both her life and ours might have been happier. Despite everything, a part of me still felt a twinge of sympathy for her after she moved out. After her departure, we looked forward to Lauren's graduation. She was accepted into her university of choice and started living independently. The family home, located in a desirable area, quickly attracted a buyer. William is now seeking a transfer to a branch near the coast. We plan to spend a few years there until retirement, searching for our final home. We hope to continue living peacefully and harmoniously as a family, finding solace in the stability and tranquility of our new life by the sea.